Hi, welcome back to Math Success Seminar Online. Previous video, I talked about adding and subtracting, and I just used integers, which we learned about integers in the first video. But I'm going to show a few different examples that I didn't cover in the conceptual video. So there's a lot of negatives here, and it feels weird, especially if you're not comfortable with how negatives work. I mentioned previously, when is a number positive? When is it negative? What does that mean for adding and subtracting? Is it different? Is it the same? Can I think of it the same way? So actually, I'm just going to rewrite that one. There's a lot of negatives here. And I'm going to show you what I like to do first. Because I see this negative and this negative, and I know, all right, this looks confusing. And I don't want to think that I'm taking away a negative number, because then I'm actually adding, or however you can logic that out. But whenever I see a parentheses with the negatives, I just like to make that a big old plus. This is my method. This is the way I like came to understand it. So I can rewrite it down here. -2 plus 3. And now you can organize that vertically like we did before. Two different signs, because this is positive 3, positive negative. So 3 minus 2. Or, I mean, you could even switch the order. You can always switch the order. 3 minus 2. Then becomes 1. 1. 1. So just know if you have, let me try to erase it. If you have a negative, parentheses negative, you can always just change that into a positive. So talking about it the Pearson way, the true and tried Pearson way. If I see a negative here on the second number, that means I'm going to keep the first number, change the sign, change the sign. And now let's rewrite it. It gets us to the same point. It's just kind of like my method skips a little bit of a step, I guess. As long as you understand how this negative and this negative are subtracting. I know I'm trying to be technically correct, but. So let's go on to bigger numbers. Let's go on to numbers with lots of parentheses. How about negative 40 plus 30? So here's another weird example, because what does parentheses mean? Parentheses are only a tool for grouping, meaning 40 is grouped by itself, and there's no way it can interact with other things until it interacts with what's directly outside of it. So what you want to pay attention to with parentheses is right here in front of it. So if I rewrote this, if I kind of put that negative into this 40, this becomes -40 plus 37. And now we can do the vertical stacking. If you find any of this part confusing, I highly recommend vertical stacking. Because I can see, oh, we're 40 in the negative and we paid off $37 of our $40 debt. So how much do we still owe? We still owe $3. That's the way I like to think about it, because I like to relate it to real life examples. But here you can see the the number with the bigger absolute value is on the top, and it's negative. So negative, positive, different signs. So you find the difference, meaning you subtract them. 40 minus 37 is 3, but the bigger number is negative, so -3. So two different ways to think about the same problem and to come to a reasonable answer. What's another funny one? How about -57 minus -24? Sure, let's do that. So it's not exactly obvious where this is going, but here's that example I was talking about. You got negative, parentheses, negative. So I like to make that a big old plus. That way, when you rewrite it, -57 plus 24, this is a 7, not a 1. Now you can see exactly what to do with them. Uh, 57 is the bigger absolute value number, and that's negative. Don't put the line here yet. What are you doing, Kevin? We're online. Jeez. And then we're going to add 24. So different signs. This is always the first thing you want to examine once you stack them. Are they the same sign? Are they different signs? Different signs, so you find the difference. So we're going to do 57 minus 24. 7 minus 4 is 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. And then the bigger number is negative. So when you get to bigger numbers, 57, 24, 106, I don't know, something large like that, and you have to combine them, here's where this stuff really becomes useful, like the vertical stacking, because now you can see exactly what you need to do with it. Smaller numbers maybe you can do in your head. If you have $1 and you give your friend 50 cents, how much money do you have left over? Be $1 minus 50, or you know what I mean. 100 cents minus 50 cents, you still have 50 cents left over. But we got a bill of $57, but the company is giving us $24. So what does that mean? I don't know. Different ways to think about it. I learned math by relating it to the real world, and you go through every math class kind of wondering, well, what's the point? And I like to know the point first so I can relate it to the point. So that's the way I'm going to kind of try to explain things. Let's do one more example. Let me think about this really quick. So let's do negative. Yeah, let's do like big numbers. Negative 99 plus negative 87. So now we don't have the negative negative. We have a plus negative. So we have a plus parentheses negative. How do we deal with that? Well, if we're adding them, all that means is we're combining those two things together. So actually we can go straight to the vertical stacking part. So we can do negative 99 minus 87. Stack the one with the greater absolute value on the top. Stack the one with the lesser on the bottom. So now, same signs, find the sum. I'm even going to write that. Same signs, find sum. 9 plus 7 is 16. Carry that 1 over to here. What's 9 plus 8? It's 17, but you add this additional 1. So this is actually 186. Is it positive or is it negative? Well, it's negative because both of our numbers are negative. So vertical stacking for large numbers is very beneficial. Later on, when we get into fractions and such, it doesn't work so well. I just recommend for large numbers you want to kind of do it this way. But I'm going to stop the video here. This was just a few examples to help get you going or maybe help refresh your memory, especially with the negative thing. I find it easiest to just connect the dots, make a big old plus. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Math Success Seminar Online.